Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Everyday Health Stories. We're so thrilled to have you join us for another deep dive into the fascinating world of medical science, where we uncover surprising truths about health and nutrition. Today, we're picking up right where we left off in our last episode about fasting and its effects on the body. But this time, we're diving even deeper. Dr. Reddy, are you ready to tackle some of the trickier questions our listeners have been asking?
Absolutely, Anna. It's always exciting to get into the nuances of these topics, and fasting is one of those areas where science keeps surprising us. I think today's discussion is going to give our listeners a lot to think about, especially when it comes to the role of meal timing and its impact beyond just weight loss.
Oh, definitely. I was reading this fascinating study about time-restricted eating, where people eat only during a specific window of time, like 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it compared that to just plain calorie restriction. I was so ready to see how the timing would boost results, but it didn't. Both groups lost weight, but the study found no real difference. I mean, isn't that wild?
It is, but it's also a great example of how health and nutrition aren't always as straightforward as we might think. The study showed that both groups lost weight, but the calorie deficit was the real driver here, not necessarily the timing of meals.
So does that mean the timing doesn't matter at all? Like, if I just keep my calories in check, I can eat whenever I want?
Well, not quite. While calorie intake is the biggest factor in weight loss, meal timing can still play an important role in other areas, like inflammation, insulin sensitivity, and even your body's ability to repair itself. For example, eating earlier in the day, when your metabolism is most active, can align with your circadian rhythm, making your body more efficient at processing food.
Oh, I've heard about circadian rhythms. That's like our internal clock, right? It tells us when to sleep, when to wake up, and even when to eat.
Yes, that's the one. And it's not just about sleep. Your body's ability to metabolize food is also influenced by this clock. During the day, your cells are primed to handle glucose and fat, but as evening approaches, your metabolism slows down. Eating late at night, for instance, can disrupt this rhythm, leading to things like increased inflammation and prolonged fat storage.
Wait, so you're saying that late night snacking isn't just bad for my waistline? It could actually cause inflammation?
That's right. After 5 p.m., the body starts to transition into its natural rest and repair mode. If you're still eating late in the evening, it not only disrupts that process, but also keeps your body in fat storage mode for several hours longer. And chronic late-night eating can even increase your risk for conditions like diabetes and heart disease over time.
Wow, that's fascinating. I mean, we often think of calories as calories, but this makes it so much more complex. So in the study, where they only ate between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., shouldn't that timing have given them a bit of an edge?
You'd think so, and in some cases it might. But in this study, the participants in both groups ate nearly the same number of calories. That's likely why their weight loss results were so similar. The study controlled everything so tightly, calories, macronutrients, and even physical activity, that the benefits of timing didn't stand out as much.
So in the real world, where people might not count every single calorie or track every step, time-restricted eating could still have an edge, right? Like if it naturally helps people eat less?
Exactly, Anna. In everyday life, time-restricted eating often leads to unintentional calorie reduction because people have less time to snack or eat mindlessly. Plus, it aligns better with our natural rhythms, which can amplify some of the benefits we don't see as clearly in a tightly controlled study.
That makes sense. And I think this idea of aligning our eating habits with our body's clock is such a game changer. I've even read that finishing your last meal by 5 p.m. can make a huge difference for things like inflammation and fat storage. Can we dig into why that timing is so crucial?
Sure, this is where things get really interesting, because the timing of your last meal can set the stage for how your body functions overnight. It ties right into the science of intermittent fasting and why earlier eating can be such a powerful tool.
I can't wait to get into that. But before we dive in, just a quick reminder for our listeners. If you're enjoying this conversation, don't forget to hit pause and subscribe to Everyday Health Stories. You'll get notified about new episodes and join a community that's making positive changes, one story at a time. Trust me, you don't want to miss any of our next episodes. So Dr. Reddy, we talked about how calorie restriction is the main driver of weight loss and why timing your meals might not always lead to extra pounds shed, at least in controlled settings. And then you teased us with something big, the importance of aligning eating habits with our body's natural rhythm. So let's jump into it. Why is this so critical?
It's all about the circadian rhythm, Anna. This is your body's 24-hour clock, and it controls everything from your sleep-wake cycle to hormone levels and even how your metabolism functions. During the day, your body is primed to process food, your insulin sensitivity is higher, and your digestion is more efficient. But as the evening approaches, these processes start to slow down.
So eating late at night doesn't just mean extra calories. It's like forcing your body to work overtime when it's already trying to clock out.
That's right. Imagine your metabolism like a factory. During the day, it's fully staffed and running at peak efficiency, but at night, most of the workers go home. If you're still sending in shipments, aka food, it's going to pile up. This can lead to increased blood sugar levels, more fat storage, and over time, inflammation.
Wow. So when people talk about late night snacking being bad for you, it's not just about willpower or guilt. It's literally throwing off your body's rhythm.
That's exactly it, Anna. Late night eating can also keep your body in fat storage mode longer. Research has shown that if your stomach isn't empty by around 5 p.m., any calories absorbed after that can trigger an inflammatory response. And that inflammation, it's linked to conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and even some autoimmune disorders.
That's so fascinating. So if we flip this idea, does that mean eating earlier, like a big breakfast or lunch, has the opposite effect?
Yes, exactly. Eating earlier in the day helps your body work with its natural rhythms. Insulin sensitivity is highest in the morning, so your body is better at using glucose for energy instead of storing it as fat. Plus, finishing your last meal earlier in the day allows your body to switch to fat burning mode during the evening fasting window.
Okay, so earlier eating seems like a no-brainer. But why doesn't everyone do it? Is it just lifestyle habits, or is there something else holding people back?
It's a bit of both. Lifestyle plays a huge role. Modern schedules often revolve around late dinners, social events, and convenience. But there's also a cultural aspect. In many places, dinner is seen as the main meal of the day, and changing that mindset can be tough.
That's true. I mean, I've definitely had nights where I'm eating at 9 or even 10 p.m. after a busy day. But if I wanted to start eating earlier, how would I even begin? Is it about shifting all my meals earlier?
That's a great question, Anna. It's all about gradual changes. You can start by moving your dinner time earlier, even by 30 minutes a week, until you're eating your last meal by 5 or 6 p.m., and focus on making breakfast or lunch your largest meals of the day. That way, you're giving your body the fuel it needs when it can process it most efficiently.
I love that. And speaking of efficiency, I came across something interesting in the research. A lot of studies focus on an 8-hour eating window, like 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., but some suggest an even earlier window, like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., might be better. What's the science behind that?
That's a great point. The earlier you eat, the more aligned you are with your circadian rhythm. Studies suggest that an earlier window, where you finish eating by mid-afternoon, maximizes insulin sensitivity and minimizes the risk of late-night inflammation. It's not always practical for everyone, but for those who can manage it, it's one of the most effective ways to optimize health.
So it's not just about eating less or even eating healthy. It's about eating at the right times to let your body do its job without unnecessary stress.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that small changes can lead to big improvements. Even if you can't commit to a 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. window, just finishing your meals earlier in the evening can make a huge difference.
That's so empowering. Okay, I have one more question before we move on. If eating late causes inflammation, what about people who fast all day and eat just one big meal at night? Does that cancel out the benefits of fasting?
Great question. While fasting has its benefits, eating a large meal late at night can offset those advantages. The body isn't as equipped to handle a big calorie load in the evening, so you might still experience inflammation and reduced insulin sensitivity. If someone is fasting, I always recommend breaking the fast earlier in the day for the best results.
That makes so much sense. This is such a fascinating topic, and I can't wait to keep exploring it. So far, we've explored how meal timing aligns with our body's natural rhythms and why eating earlier in the day can be a game changer for metabolism and inflammation. But Dr. Reddy, let's shift gears and talk about something a bit more specific, how these eating patterns could impact conditions like heart disease.
Absolutely, Anna. This is where meal timing becomes more than just a weight loss strategy. It's about protecting long-term health. Heart disease, as you know, is one of the leading causes of death worldwide, and inflammation plays a major role in its development. The timing of your meals can either help reduce that inflammation or make it worse.
So, how does this work? Is it just about avoiding late night eating, or is there more to it?
It's a combination of factors. When you eat late at night, your body struggles to process glucose efficiently. This can lead to higher blood sugar levels and increased insulin resistance, both of which are major risk factors for heart disease. On top of that, late night eating can raise triglycerides and promote fat storage, which increases cardiovascular strain.
Wow, that's a lot of impact from something as simple as when you eat. But what about intermittent fasting? Some studies suggest it helps reduce inflammation and improves heart health, but others seem to raise concerns. What's going on there?
Well, intermittent fasting does have well-documented benefits, like lowering oxidative stress and improving lipid profiles. But recent studies have raised questions about its impact on cardiovascular health, especially when the fasting period ends with a late-night meal.
Oh, I came across one study that mentioned an increased risk of heart-related deaths in people who followed an 8-hour eating window. Could it be because of when they were eating during that window?
Yes, exactly. The timing within the window matters just as much as the fasting itself. If someone's 8-hour eating window is from, say, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., they're consuming most of their calories when the body's metabolism is winding down. This can lead to increased inflammation, higher blood pressure, and other cardiovascular risks.
So it's not just about fasting. It's about structuring that fast to work with your body, not against it. Would an earlier eating window, like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., be better for heart health?
Oh yes, definitely, Anna. Earlier eating windows align with the body's circadian rhythm, which is key for heart health. When you eat earlier in the day, you're giving your body a chance to metabolize calories efficiently, reduce stress on the heart, and lower inflammatory markers like CRP and IL-6.
That's really great. And I bet this is especially important for people with existing heart conditions or risk factors like high cholesterol or diabetes, right?
Absolutely. For these individuals, even small changes, like shifting dinner an hour earlier, can have significant benefits. It's about creating an environment where the body can rest and repair instead of being overwhelmed by late-night digestion.
And what about the quality of food during these eating windows? Does that play a role too, or is timing the bigger factor?
Quality and timing go hand in hand. Eating earlier is important, but it's just as critical to focus on nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory foods like vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats. A big carb-heavy meal, even if it's early, can still spike blood sugar and counteract some of the benefits of fasting.
That's such a great point. So it's really about creating a holistic approach, combining when we eat, what we eat, and even how we structure our fasting.
Exactly. And for anyone considering changes to their eating patterns, it's always best to start gradually and work with a healthcare provider to tailor the approach to your unique health needs.
I love that. Before we wrap up, is there one key takeaway you'd like our listeners to remember about the timing of meals and heart health?
If I had to pick just one, I'd say this. Let your body rest in the evening. Stop eating by 5 or 6 p.m., focus on quality meals earlier in the day, and let your natural rhythms do the rest. It's a small change, but it can lead to big health benefits over time.
That's such valuable advice. Thank you so much, Dr. Reddy, for another enlightening discussion.
My pleasure, Anna. And, as always, listeners, please remember this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider for any medical concerns.
That's right. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it with your friends and family. You never know who might benefit from this information. Remember, every story has the power to transform lives.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone. We'll see you next time on Everyday Health Stories. Bye for now.